Thank you, Craig. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me just put these on. I just finished reading a new book that came out by a guy by the name of Robert Draper. It's called To Start a War, and it's about the Bush administration's decision-making process leading up to the Iraq War. And there's the obligatory reference in the book to that infamous scene in 2003 when President Bush lands on the USS Abraham Lincoln, and there on the aircraft carrier is the sign, "Mission Accomplished." And Craig, I think, touched upon it already, that he's not saying mission accomplished. I'm not saying mission accomplished. Danny and his team are not saying that. And while I appreciated, or I had an understanding of the challenge that of running this network prior to the redesign, after working so closely with this team, I so appreciate the daily challenge. So although we have made real progress, and I am thrilled about that, no one is saying that the job is done, because every day these bus operators, Danny's team, all of you are faced with a myriad of variables, and I understand that much better today than I did going in. If you are a Staten Islander, and I am a native Staten Islander, it's reflexive, it's a birthright to criticize the MTA. As a native Staten Islander, the MTA is this nameless, faceless bureaucracy that you get to beat up upon. If you're a politician, if you're an elected official, my God, I've got some colleagues who basically they've made their career out of turning the MTA into piñata. And listen, when you pay that Verrazano toll, some of that is grounded in history. But when you work day to day with people like Craig Cipriano, and before him, Darrell Irick, and Vinny Innocente, and Mike Powell, and Mike Rybosh, and Melissa Farley, and lots of other folks, you see that there are real people who are part of this authority who give a damn and who are professional and want to improve the lives of their customers. It's legitimate. I have lived that for 2+ years in this bus redesign. So for a long time, I've been talking about how the public doesn't care about the process, they care about the finished product. I get that. They care about the bus being there and the bus getting to and from work in a timely fashion. I get it. But as a guy who's been around government for 30 years, I know that if you give me a good process, it's more likely than not that I'm going to be able to give my constituents a better product. And I have to say this, what Craig and his team, in collaboration with Danny and his team, have done, it has renewed my faith to some degree in government, because there is no process that I've been a part of in 30 years that has been this ongoing, this intimate, daily phone calls for a long stretch, where Craig, and before him, his old boss, Andy Byford, invited the Staten Island populace literally into headquarters to say, be a part of this process. Nowhere in city government do you see, there is no commissioner or deputy commissioner who has said to their customers, to Staten Islanders, yeah, be a part of the solution the way that the MTA has done on this bus redesign. Philippa, who most of us know is a customer, is a rider, Grisafi, has been an integral part of this process. She has been a godsend, but she has been invited into this process by the MTA. No city agency is doing that. I know that for a fact because I live it every day. No city agency is saying to Staten Islanders, we want to hear you. And not just once, not just this BS press event. We want to hear from you on a daily basis. This is what this MTA team has done. And that's why I think we've improved the system. I've said to Andy Byford, I've said to Pat Foy, I said to President Feinberg multiple times in the last couple of months, the level of cooperation between management and labor on Staten Island, between the MTA and Danny Casella and ATU 726 is unprecedented. And that is a testimony to both sides. And to Danny and his team, who have been absolute heroes during the pandemic, long before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and today, you have my respect, my appreciation, my friendship, how they have worked with management, how they have tweaked schedules, how they have worked the pick top and bottom to be a willing partner. It's really been inspiring, and it's really one of the reasons why we have the success in the data. Lastly, I have to say this. The MTA is up against it in terms of their budget. America cannot have a revitalization by ignoring cities like New York. And cities like New York cannot have an economic rebound without mass transit. So while the federal government has been helpful to the MTA, they need to do more. We all don't get back to where we want to be without thriving cities like New York. And New York cannot thrive without a fully funded, fully operational public mass transit system. And that means subways, yes, but it also means buses. You can run, even in the craziness of New York City, you could run in a relatively efficient, effective express bus and local bus system if you replicate this model and you fund it. So to the geniuses in Washington, D.C., who are way smarter than me, please remember that. And to all of you who I have not mentioned, to the rank and file, to Danny's team, to Danny's membership, thank you for what you do. My dad drove a train in this town for close to 30 years. I am family, you are family to me. You got my admiration and my respect. More work to do, but I think to date, a job well done. Thank you. What I would like to add to that is that what also is available today that the MTA has not had at its disposal is the technology. And I have to tell you, I've been impressed that the MTA has been willing to combine the data, the new data that they have available that they didn't have available previously, with the anecdotal and the lived experience of Danny and his operators. So during these conversations, and again, they were daily for months, they were twice a week, only interrupted by COVID and now back on. On our conference calls, you have some of Craig's team talking about data, and then you have Danny coming in and talking about sort of the lived experience of his operators. Then you got guys like Mike Powell and the Staten Island team who are on the ground and again, like tweaking individual trips, saying the APC data shows that there are enough seats, but if we move this trip 3 minutes up, but this 2 minutes back, I mean, it's a wonderful combination of, because I got the Bush book on my mind, of all types of intelligence. And kudos to Craig and the team. It's not top down. The Staten Island team is literally boots on the ground, going out there, Mike Powell going out to bus stops where there have been problematic trips and combining all this information and implementing it. Again, I hate to snatch snarky criticism out of the jaws of gratitude, but when I compare that operation to the nonsense I see in some city agencies, I mean, these guys should really go in the consulting business and give some tutorial to city agencies on how you manage the relationships with your partners, how you use technology and data, and how you use real world ground truth and ground reality. That's what they've done over the last 2 years, and they get better at it as we go along.